Hello, my name is Shelley Bogus, and for our final project, I chose to prepare a business's missions preliminary proposal for a community-wide change initiative addressing youth homelessness. The title of my paper is The Call for Supportive Housing and Services to Combat Youth Homelessness. I began with some staggering data. In Colorado, in the year 2019, 595 unaccompanied youth were counted on a single designated night. This designated night is assigned by the government, and states around the country are utilizing the same date to collect this data. There are faults to this. Part of the methodology of retrieving this data is to have our youth complete these surveys within 24 hours of the assigned date. Our youth experiencing homelessness aren't always easy to track down. And while we create incentives for them to show up at various places and offices, they don't always have the capacity with their executive functioning skills to meet that demand. We've also chosen to take our employees out into the community where we know some of our youth frequent. Of course, safety is always a first. Even then, we estimated in our county that we really acquire about 50% of the youth we know to be homeless to actually complete those forms within the allotted time. On the national scope, in 2019, over 35,000 unaccompanied youth were counted on that night. And the Alliance estimates that over 550,000 unaccompanied youth will experience homelessness at some point throughout the year. We can't ignore this information. In James we read, "If one of you says to him, 'Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it?" Ending youth homelessness requires steps. First, we need housing, stable, supportive housing, and within that context, connections to caring adults. Relationships are key for our young people to recover from the trauma they've experienced. In addition, they need access to mainstream services like developing life skills, receiving mental health supports, and being provided best practice interventions. In addition, education and employment supports are necessary, but they come with a broad scope of support and services to meet those education and employment needs. When we employ a business's missions model to create a community change initiative, we are functioning in community for community. That is one of the business's missions mottos. Business's mission is demonstrating what the kingdom of God is like in the context of business. And as we do so, engaging with the world's more pressing social, economic, and environmental and spiritual issues. Now we can talk about our purpose and statements. Healthy ethical climates are marked by inclusion, trust, justice, integrity, structural and symbolic reinforcement, and organizational citizenship. When we think of that statement from Johnson, we can start developing our statements. For our values, all people matter to God. He is the father to the fatherless, and we are called to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and give water to the thirsty. For our vision, through collective efforts of ethical leaders, community and governmental resources and services will be leveraged to reduce and ultimately end youth homelessness. As we continue on to our mission, youth experiencing homelessness will be provided supported housing opportunities to include trusting relationships, resources, and training to develop self-efficacy, self-worth, and sustainability while residing in a safe and caring environment. For our goals, there are plenty, but a few here: identify and leverage resources, skills, and services to support, raise funds, research local services, and locate available properties. We need to cultivate relationships with youth having lived experiences to engage with us in this process. Youth voice is huge and comes from one of the organizational behavior processes that we hear from Scandura, that being psychological empowerment. It's huge for our youth to have a voice at the table. Lastly, we need to develop best practices for service interventions and mental health supports. Again, in the Bible we read, do not say 4 more months and then the harvest. I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. Our youth need us now. Our next organizational behavior process will be creating a team. In Scandura, we read, the right time to use teams is when performance goals requires collective effort and work project that reflects the contribution of everyone on that team. Teams will experience the performance curve for sure, that portion of forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. I've experienced this myself. But once the team interests supersedes individual interests, the team will be on a roll. And the impact of social cohesion can't be overlooked. Positive communication, conflict resolution, effective workload sharing, agreeableness, and emotional stability will all impact how the team can function together. Our next process we'll look at is job satisfaction and individual attitude. The research is clear that job satisfaction increases performances on the job. Job satisfaction is connected to being respectfully treated, having trust among our members, and our opportunities to use our skills and abilities. In Scandura, she quoted a statement from the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. It said, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. While that made me laugh a little, I have to say, the glaring truth is that this does present a barrier in many task forces of adults that are working with youth that are experiencing homelessness. Scandura defines attitude as a psychological tendency that is expressed by evaluating a particular entity with some degree of favor or disfavor. There are 3 components making up our attitude: cognitive, affective, and behavioral. All can impact in different ways. In conclusion, the number of youth experiencing homelessness are staggering. Best practice services and mental health supports are very much needed. And the BAM model, supporting a community change initiative, serves the whole person and builds the kingdom. Again, we're acting in community for the community. The organizational behavioral processes that we covered were psychological empowerment, as we empowered youth to participate, group processing, as we developed our teams, and job satisfaction attitudes. The need is great. The harvest is ready. Are we? Thank you.